Well, good morning, everybody. It's July 25th, I believe today is Saturday. And this isn't going to be a machine video or anything. This is just some summer planting and kind of an update on how the gardens are going. So I'm getting some tomatoes in. There's already some tomatoes out here that are doing well and have some tomatoes on them, as you would expect this time of year. So I put some more tomatoes down in here so that we'll get a later crop. I have some more to put up in the other garden plot up there. I also have some late cabbage we're going to put in and some late Brussels sprouts. Well, Brussels sprouts are always late. But everything is doing pretty well in the garden. We're getting some good zucchinis. We've taken a picking off them several times now. Yellow squash is doing good. Won't take them long to get bigger. And the cucumbers, the pickles, got little tiny pickles on them. I'll see if I can find one here for you. I was looking at them last night. Where'd they go? Well, if I find one, I'll show you. They had little tiny pickles on some of these. Anyway, so everything is doing as well as can be expected. And you know, in the midsummer time like this, now we've been watering this, you know, the old traditional way, just a hose and a nozzle. Ideally, a drip irrigation would be nice for this kind of thing. But we got to get set up for that. We don't have a good water source down here yet. I got some tanks that I want to utilize at some point in time up here behind my trailer. But I got to get a good water source or a good way of pumping water up to them so they can gravity flow. Now we do have a run down there that we might be able to utilize that. We'll see. But anyways, we have been watering this, and thankfully we've been getting some rain when some of our neighbors 20 or 30 miles away have not been. So, but it's definitely dry. It's the end of July. As you would expect, it's definitely dry. So when I planted these ones in midsummer, I actually digged a hole and then filled that hole with water, and then got my plants ready. By the time I come back, the water is soaked in, and then I plant, and then I go back over and water again. I don't usually do that in the spring, but this time of year it needs a little bit of help. So you can see all these tomatoes we put in. We got more to put in too. But it's going well. I'm actually quite surprised it's doing as well as it is down here. We have very little manure, although I did put some manure on this plot and that plot up there. There was a little bit of chicken manure and some horse manure from the previous owner, or the previous occupancy of here. But this soil's pretty much depleted. It had been in pasture for years and years and years, and nothing done with it. I sent a soil sample to Penn State early in the spring. Actually, might have been last fall. I think it was early in the spring I did. And pretty much it came back, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing in here. It needed a lot of lime and a lot of fertilizer. And so around March, I took and put, it said it needed both dolomitic lime and calumetic lime. So in March, I put the dolomitic lime on. That's normally the pelletized lime that you find in your big box home store. When they sell like yard lime in the spring, it's dolomitic lime, it's pelletized. I put that on in March over everything. Everything you see here, everything down at the cornfield and the pumpkins and even the other field over there. I just put it on with a broadcast spreader behind the quad. And I got, like I said, I had some manure from our chickens, and there's a little bit of horse manure left in there, and then a lot of rotten hay. And I was able to get that on these two garden plots. The corn and the pumpkins down here have had absolutely nothing. I put some triple 19 on them early in the spring, and I haven't touched them since. So we need to get the soil built up and stuff, but I'm surprised it's done as well as it has. It really isn't doing too awful bad. So this fall, the plan is to put some calumetic lime on. That's that white powder stuff that you see. I want to put that on this fall, I think. And I will probably do that every year, probably for the next 2-3 years. and send in another soil sample to Penn State and see what it comes back as. But I imagine probably for the next 5 years or so I'll be putting lime on here, as well as manure every spring before we plow, to try to get the organic material built up. The ground where we are is fairly rocky. We're right at the base of the Appalachian Mountains, and it's fairly rocky. And this plot down here wasn't near as bad. That plot up there is like one step below being a driveway. It's pretty bad, and of course we didn't know that till we plowed it over. And so that spot up there I will not use again as a garden spot, for that reason, but also because we're filling this all in. Everything you see here is all going to be orchard at some point in time. We're just buying trees every year and filling it in. So next year I'm going to start from up top there and start filling that in and work this way down. This plot here I'm going to expand out further. I'm just going to estimate probably another 20 feet out. Probably keep it about this wide though. And so all our transplant stuff will be in here. I think we're going to simplify a little bit next year and just go with a few crops that we can sell, and also some things that we like, that my wife and I like. I kind of like keeping it up here because it's easy for her to come out during the day. You know, you go down over the hill there and it's a little harder for her at this point in time. She won't drive the quad, so it's a little bit for her to walk. So for right here, probably for the next couple of years, we'll still be doing this as a commercial garden right here, and slowly filling this all in with trees. Probably going to be doing that back to about somewheres in here. So if you could see that fence line way back there, I figure it's over an acre. Might not be quite 2, but it's pretty darn close to it. I'm not sure. And that'll be a nice orchard. We got some peaches up there and apples all in the middle. Got some pears down toward the pine trees over there, which I'd love to get rid of some of those pine trees, but that's another story for another day. So eventually all the row crops will be down over the hill. There's another field back in here. I don't know if you can see it, that we haven't done anything with this year. It's just I mowed it down a couple times, and that's where it's been. But we can utilize that. That's probably what we'll do. So just a little farm update. I haven't done a video in a while. It's it's the kind of year where this is mostly just a lot of handwork. We're just tending the gardens. Chickens and ducks are doing great. I think we did a video where we brought the new hens out to the hen house. The older hens, which we only had 5 of those, I put in a broiler house, sorry. Because they were too big, they would have really hurt them little guys. So I put them in there with the broilers. The broilers we had went ahead and butchered, I believe it was about 2 weeks ago. They're in the freezer, and we're selling them out the door. They are delicious too, by the way. Absolutely delicious. We put a couple on a grill. Man, were they good. The ducks are in the pig pen of the broiler house. It had gotten really hot, and I didn't want to crowd them in too much, so I put them in there. They got a lot of room in there. They got a fan. I got their pond in there, and so they're going to be coming back out here though fairly soon. So yeah, the broilers are gone. Hens are getting bigger. Well, I can open the door and we can show you how they are. So yeah, they're going to be probably laying, let's see, what is it, July? Should be beginning of September. In that time frame they should start laying. And there's a whole different variety in here, so they may all start at different times. They want out, but they're just too small. If I had this covered in a little better, I could let them out. But we got so many predators around here. We've had a fox spying them out here for the last couple of days. We've been having our eye on them. We got a lot of owls and other things around, hawks and things. So they're just too small to come out yet. But they want out, and believe me, I want to let them out. So that's where we are. We're going to be probably starting another round of broilers here, I think in a week or two. I'm going to bring the ducks out of the pig pens, which we call it a pig pen, but we haven't had any pigs in it yet. But that's the future plan here for it, very shortly, I hope. So, 'cause I want to get those ducks out of there. And I got another little hut coming for them. I'm going to set them up their own little pasture so they can do their own thing. And I got to set up that where they are now for pigs. We hope to be getting pigs here within the next couple of weeks. But so I'm going to set up the brooder box in the broiler house with the bigger hens, and they'll be in a box by themselves, so they won't be able to get messed with. I hope to do about 50 of those broilers next time. So we're just trucking along. Haven't done an update for a while because there hasn't been a whole lot of new developments other than plants getting bigger and our hens getting bigger, and we will be. I think in a couple weeks here we're going to be getting some calves in the big barn. We should have 2 steers coming from our son. So that'll be good, and that's going to help with manure and fertilizing and stuff like that. Our farm is 30 acres, but I would say only 2/3 of that, half to 2/3 of that, is tillable ground, and the rest of it is woods, which I don't want to get rid of my woods. There's also a couple of runs that go down through here in some wet areas and some real like boulder rocks areas that you just can't till. So to try to make my own animal feed is pretty much pointless. I just don't have enough ground to cover it all. So we're doing some vegetable plots, some sweet corn. We're doing some pumpkins. That'll go with the apples in the fall of the year, and whatever we can do in the commercial gardens here, and then use that money to buy feed for the livestock. Also the laying hens, their eggs, that price pretty much goes to, really the way we're setting it up is the eggs, the money we get from the eggs pays for the feed. And so the livestock and whatever we can make on the orchard and the garden plots would be, in theory, profit, although there's more overhead than what I'm putting out there, but in theory is how we're hoping to set that up. And the reason for that is I can't rely on the orchard every year, or even a vegetable crop, because it's so susceptible to weather, which I have no control over. The livestock, because you're able to have control, you're able to keep them in if you need to, or let them out if you can. It's a little more of a reliable income. So I try to base expenses on what I can make on that, and whatever I can do with row crops and orchard is going to be on top, is how we look at it. So far so good. We've been doing a big garden for years, my wife and I, and doing a lot of canning. This is the first year we're doing an actual commercial garden where we're selling stuff. And because I knew the ground wasn't so good, I decided to do some experimental stuff this year that didn't really work out as well as I would have liked it to, but it helps me to understand what to do next year. And that's the thing with farming or anything. It's always about trying to figure out, what you can do to improve things next year. I tried to do like an early corn. Didn't work out too well. Why? Because corn seed is very susceptible to the ground temperature. And even when it's dry and you have a mild spring like we did, it just won't come up until the ground gets to a certain temperature. And I knew that ahead of time, but I was hoping anyway. I didn't want to put plastic down. I'm trying to stay away from using plastic in my fields. I just think that's a mess and it looks terrible. So next year I'm not even going to try that. We're just going to put corn in May when we should. And I'll put the regular corn in. That was like an early corn. I think that was like a 65 or 70 day corn. And that's all well and good, but it doesn't get as high as I'd like it to. And it's going to work better if it does get taller and grow faster, and that'll help keep the weeds down. Now I did cultivate, but you get to a point where you can't cultivate anymore, and the corn's not big enough to shade out the weeds when you use that earlier corn. So next year we're just going to use regular corn. What I might do though, is instead of trying to get an early one, I'll get a later one. So I'll put our first stuff in May, and I might do another planting like this time of year, probably like early to mid, probably early July, late June, early July. Utilize another field to do that, and get an early and a late corn, or not an early, but a regular and a late corn. Hopefully, take us into October. I'm going to use more ground for pumpkins next year, but I can't complain. Like I said, I did want to try some new things this year. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. Got some great ideas for next year, and the soil is going to keep getting better as we add manure and organic material and lime. All right, guys, I won't bore you anymore. Thanks, guys, and let us know if you want any chicken, because it's pretty good. All right, thanks.